What's up, guys? This is Dan at yourpbfriend.com. We have the new MacDev Clone 5. We were able to get a first look at this. We are going to do some review videos for you. We are going to do an efficiency test on this gun. With the efficiency test, we're going to use a Ninja SL77 tank. We're no longer using 68s, as the new 77s are really the new standard for size of a tank, same size as an old 68. And so all our efficiency tests from now on are going to be using that tank. So you'll be able to see that. We're also going to do a shot comparison with the Clone 5 versus pretty much every other high-end gun on the market. What we try to look for in the shot comparisons is we want to be able to see how, when shooting a stream, how does it react? Does it vibrate? Does it kick back? What does it do? We also do some 3-round bursts, because in a 3-round burst, going from 0 to shooting up, you'll be able to see some barrel rise and a kick, maybe if you're holding a lane or snap shooting with someone. And then we also do some 1-balls with each of the guns side by side with it. Be sure to check that one out as well. The other thing we're doing in those videos is we're doing sound comparisons. We have actually a really nice sound setup and a sound engineer on staff here, and we are actually going to compare the sounds of each gun, so you're hearing the true differences of what the guns sound like. With the sound comparison, be sure to keep in mind that guns, all the paintball guns are really close in the level of sound. We tried to use a dB meter and it really just didn't do anything because you couldn't tell the difference, but they all have a different sound signature, so stay tuned to be able to watch that. After that, we're going to take this gun and we're going to bring it back here, and we're going to compare the length of it, how tall it is, how wide it is, and how heavy it is compared to most of the other high-end guns and its previous model, the Clone GTI. So finally, to end this video, we're going to compare the Clone 5 with the GO 3.5. We've been seeing a lot of questions on the forums asking how this gun is similar and maybe how it's different to the GO 3.5. And so I'm going to pull both those guns apart and just kind of explain how I see the guns work, and from talking to the manufacturers, and explain all that stuff. So be sure to stay tuned and watch that as well. Enjoy the new MacDev Clone 5 videos from yourpbfriend.com. Alright guys, MacDev Clone 5, we're going to do the efficiency test right now. I have 13 pods in my beautiful GI Sports race pack, and we're going to see if this thing can shoot the whole thing, and I have some extra pods laying around if we get there. We have a Ninja SL77 set to mid pressure. This is the tank we use for all efficiency tests now. It's the standard. We have about 4,300 PSI, if you can see that. Alright, we're going to chrono this, and then we're going to go. It's set to PSP ramping 12.5. So I'm going to take my first pod. We're shooting some GI Sports 4-star, so some good stuff. And we're going to try to shoot about 290. So here we go. 285, 286, 278, 285, 290, 285, 288, so 285, 290. And here we go. We still got 1500 PSI. I think I got 2 pods on my back. I'm gonna shoot those. Get the chrono, that's all 13 off my back. We're still at about 500 to 800 PSI, 284, 272, 71, 73, 78, 70, still right up there. Grab another pod real quick. There at 14th. Still at not quite 0. I don't think we'll make a 15th pod, but I'll try. Alright, let's see what we got. There we go. That's dropping off now. Let's chrono it. 270, 265, 265, 263. Alright, it's dropping to 180 when I drop it, so that's almost 15 pods on a 77 4300 fill. So I carry 13 pods. I like to shoot a lot of paint. This isn't even considered a big tank anymore. That is just ridiculous numbers. MacDev Clone 5 right out of the box. I'm hearing from some people that are playing around with theirs a little longer that it gets more efficient, so that's just crazy. Yeah, MacDev Clone 5 efficiency test. .301, 297, 298, 290. Empire Vanquish 2, 305, 302, 304, 301. Geo 3.5, YPBF Friend Edition, 305, 296, 299. Die DM14 with a billy wing bolt, 305, 304, 307, 297. Lux OLED 2.0. 304, 299, 286, 289. Shocker RSX 300, 303, 303, 305. So the MacDev Clone 5, I'm going to give you just a quick overview of the new gun. The gun here has their new Shift 2 barrel kit, which is really nice. Rather than screwing in like the original Shift barrel kit, screwing in, the insert just slides in the front. The barrel is reverse threaded. And just like you saw on the Cyborg, it's got that really nice rubber foregrip. They use the same electronic screen that they used in the GTI and the Cyborg 6, except the Clone 5 does not have the transducers, which is the pressure readouts. That was something that they had some problems with it. And with the overall goal of the new Clone 5 to be as simple and reliable as possible, MacDev thought it was smart to do away with those, so it does not have the transducers in it. Has a really nice roller bearing trigger, a nice frame. You no longer will cut yourself here on the frame. They did away with that. That was a problem with the GTI. Some really nice grips. The foregrip length, this is one of the longer guns in paintball. It's really nice. So really nice rubber foregrip length. It has what you saw with the Cyborg. This is actually, there's no LPR in this one, but the HPR is right in here. Very simple, easy to adjust and easy to take out HPR. It also has filters in it to protect the solenoid and the internals of the gun. We won't take it apart now, as you can see with other videos, but you just remove these two screws and the gun comes completely apart with the frame. There's no wires connecting the frame to the body. It's a wireless design. It's really nice. One of the biggest things that MacDev did with the Clone 5 from the previous Clone GTI is they wanted to way simplify the gun. Just make it so it's super user-friendly. If you look in this engine, there is very little O-rings. The previous Clone models were just filled with O-rings. They were static, so they didn't do much, but it was very intimidating when you looked at it. So very simple firing chamber here. Only 3-piece design. You get the bolt, you get the can. The can has one inner O-ring here, one inner O-ring there, so that's 2 O-rings. 2 O-rings on the outside. You have the one bolt cell O-ring. And then you have their valve tip O-ring. It's just not a lot going on. This gun is made to be reliable, consistent, and most of all, just an ease of use when you're maintaining the marker and keeping it up and running. I will note that after watching the Damage guys debut this marker when they were playing at the NXL Ohio, they said that you need to make sure that you have a mid-pressure tank. This uses mid to low pressure only. That is 500 PSI to, or as low as 300 PSI. If you're going to shoot something, or if you're going to have a tank that's higher than that, you can have problems like 800 PSI. And if it spikes, you may have problems with it leaking between the frame or other issues, drop off and velocity issues, and just all kinds of different problems. So make sure you use that. Other than that, there's not a whole lot to go on with this engine. Very robust, very reliable. It's similar to the drone engine that they have had. MacDev says that they made this engine a while ago based off of their drone engine, and it is just now time to simplify it. They said it's a day and age in paintball where everybody wants the simplest gun possible and most reliable gun possible, but they don't want to lose the performance, and they really think that they got it this one, and honestly I do too. We've done the reviews if you've just seen, and efficiency tests, amazing efficiency, very consistent, reliable, smooth. It's a quiet gun. We've just been very happy. So here's the new MacDev Clone 5. Be sure to buy them at yourpbfriend.com. All right, guys, we are going to quickly just weigh all kinds of the different high-end guns that I have here, just to kind of see the weight comparison. So the new MacDev Clone 5 with the barrel is 2 pounds, 1.5 ounces. The previous Clone GTI, 2 pounds, 1 ounce, so it's 0.5 ounces heavier. We have the Planet Eclipse Geo 3.5, 2.7 ounces, so 2 pounds, 0.7 ounces. We have the Planet Eclipse LV 1.1, 2.15 ounces, so the same exact weight as the Clone 5. One of the heaviest, the DM 14. 2 pounds, 5.4 ounces, so it's like 4 ounces heavier than the other ones. The Drone 2, because this gun's just awesome, for $500. 1 pound, 14.6 ounces. Vanquish 2, 2 pounds, 5.4 ounces, so right up there with the DM. And then the Lux OLED. 2 pounds, 2.5 ounces. So the Clone 5 is one of the lighter guns. It's like 0.5 ounces heavier than some of the lightest ones on the market, and like 4 ounces lighter than something like a DM15 or a Vanquish 2. So it's actually a very comparable gun. I mean, honestly, the guns are so close in weight nowadays, it's not much of a comparison. But we're going to do that anyways. And now we're going to do just some quick close-ups talking about the guns compared to these ones right here and how they feel in the hands. So I have the Clone 5. It's a little bit longer in the hands. It feels really good. The nice rubber foregrip and rear foregrip. I'm going to stick it right here next to the 3.5. I'm going to line the frames together. So the frame, if you see here, the Clone 5 is probably half an inch foregrip, half an inch longer, but the feed neck sits farther back and the back cap sits farther back. So you can see right there. So guns nowadays in the last few years have been getting longer and longer. There was a time when the guns were a lot shorter. You have the MacDev Clone GTI, and when you stick the Clone 5 next to it, there's actually quite a bit of difference. I would say it's almost 3/4 of an inch longer than the original MacDev Clone GTI was. The back cap sticks out a little bit farther. My ASAs are lined up and the frame's lined up, by the way. But the ASA sticks out a little bit longer. I personally like the feel of the Clone 5 better. I like those longer guns. I remember when MacDev came out with the GTI, they said, we don't just throw on a little round tube as the foregrip. It's actually molded to your hands, which feels good. Another thing to note, I remember problems that people had with the GTI was this frame right here would cut them up. When they dove, they would dive and it would actually gouge their hands. I've been checking that. It does not seem sharp like that any longer. So I doubt people are going to have that problems of cutting their fingers and having to tape the trigger guard. A longer, more current gun, if you get the Vanquish 2. Now these are setups are different. So as you can see, I'm holding the grip. The Vanquish is a much longer gun if you're holding the grip, but the clone sticks back a little bit further. The Vanquish is only, the foregrip is only like 1/8 of an inch longer, but the feed neck sticks forward about a full inch, the full length of a feed neck, maybe even longer than an inch 1.25" if you see that barrel tip. Both feel really good. So the grip here is about the same from the frame to the foregrip, but the whole gun has been shifted. It's shifted forward on the Vanquish and back a little bit on the Clone 5. The Lux, I'd probably say one of the guns that started all the whole craze of the longer grips, a little more comfortable. We're gonna look at that. The Lux frame, the ASA's lined up, the feed necks line up. The frame is back about 1/2 inch. It's just different designed. But if you see on this side, the foregrip is actually quite a bit shorter. The foregrip is almost a full inch shorter. So this is definitely a longer gun. It has the same length from the frame almost. But then again, if you look at the difference in the frames, one is a much straighter frame, one curves down more. So again, definitely a different feel than the Lux for the Clone 5. People are asking the differences between the Clone 5 and the Drone because they both have the similar foregrip. If you look right there, the Drone also sticks out about 1/2 inch, or the Clone 1/2 inch longer than the Drone. The body is about the same size. The frames are the same. The barrel's about the same. It's just a longer foregrip, so you get a longer reach. I'm thinking that's probably because there's going to be a lot younger players who are using the drones. You see there's a little bit of a lack of room there for some people who hold it there, maybe with bigger hands. But with this one right here, you're definitely not going to have any of that problems. The LV 1.1. LV1s people like because it is a longer gun, amongst other things, but they do like the feel of it. If we align the ASAs and the grips, you will see they're almost the same thing. Different shaped foregrip, different shaped frame. The gun sticks out a little bit longer for the Clone than the other ones, or even on that LV 1.1. And then last we have the Dye DM14-15 combo. This, the Clone's even a little bit longer than this, if you can see right there. So I guess in review, I didn't even know it beforehand playing with it, but the Clone 5 is probably got the widest grip by a little bit, but the widest grip on the market of high-end guns. So it is a longer gun. If you are a smaller player, you may not like it. And I say may because it all depends. Some people, maybe a smaller player, loves that longer grip. It's all personal preference here, but this gun is pretty different in the ergonomics than pretty much any gun on the market there. So that is the comparison with it right there. In recap, the MacDev Clone 5 is one of the longer guns in the market. Feels really good in the hands. Got some good ergonomics. It is towards the lower end of most of these high-ends range of weight. It's definitely not the heaviest, like 4 ounces lighter than the heaviest guns, but a little bit heavier than some of the lighter guns in this range in the high-end market. But feels really good in the hands, really nice. And there you go. All right, guys, MacDev Clone 5. We're going to talk about just some of the differences that we see in one of the other #1 guns in paintball right now, the Geo 3.5 by Planet Eclipse. The MacDev Clone 5 runs at about 100 PSI, which is very low for a lot of guns. It has the nice pop-up back cap assembly. If you see in the gun, it actually has a very large, larger than most guns, air chamber, and that's probably why it's running at such low pressures. For the engine, if you screw it apart, it has its valve right here, a sprung valve, which shuts off the air. It has its bolt, and it has its can. Now, how this engine works is the air from the gun, it doesn't use the solenoid to shut off the air into the chamber. It actually uses the bolt here. And so these holes that you see right here in the can, the constant air is coming through the gun, through the regulator, into the gun itself, and into the firing chamber. When the bolt moves forward, in here, it actually shuts off that air to the chamber, and then thus stopping it so that the constant pressure isn't there. And then the air in the chamber comes through the bolt, through the front of the bolt, and hits the ball until the valve here, the pressure is so low in the chamber that the valve here springs forward and shuts it off. And then it uses the solenoid to push it back. So it's a two-way solenoid. The solenoid does not control the constant air into the can or chamber. It actually uses the solenoid to push the bolt forward. The bolt shuts off the air. The valve here closes off the air to the chamber at the proper time, and then the solenoid pushes it back. If I understand correctly, the Geo 3.5 here runs at about 130 psi, give or take about 525 to 35. It has their sprung prop shaft, and it actually has a three-way solenoid. And so you see the prop shaft here, kind of the same system. It springs forward and closes it, and the bolt moves forward and back, except with the Geo, it actually uses the solenoid to shut off the air to the chamber. So there's air going into the chamber, the solenoid shuts off that air, the solenoid then pushes the bolt forward, which allows the air to rush by and hit the ball. Then at the proper time, their prop shaft springs forward and closes it and shuts it off. So that's how a Geo system works. It's a little bit different. There's obviously some similarities. This is one of the most reliable guns on the market and platforms. It's really good. And so those similarities are obviously going to work very well. Looking at it some more, I was looking at some of the similarities. Also, people were asking what's the difference between the clone engine and then the drone. So I have a drone right here. I'm going to actually take apart the engine for you so you can see the difference. As you see, this is the lower end model that MacDev just came out with. It's a really nice, reliable gun, but it doesn't have quite all the same features, nor will it shoot as smooth or efficient as the clone will. But as you see, this is the air system, or the air chamber, I should say, just like you have in the clone. They're the same size. Both guns actually run at 100 psi, which is a very low operating pressure. But you see the air chambers are about the same size. This one has a sprung valve in it. The valve on the drone here is actually this little black piece. So you imagine this is the valve and shut off. This one is sprung, and so it shuts it off at a certain point. This is stationary, and this is held in place by this back can. So this one sits back here like this, and then this one moves back and forth. The bolt system is very similar. So you have the two bolts, very similar bolts, as you can see. The clone has the little slots in there because that's used to shut off the air as well. And actually, I believe it softens how it closes. So rather than slamming a door shut, it's like slamming a door and then the last little bit has a stopper, so it slows it down and allows it to smooth out that system. And then these cans are pretty similar, as you can see. This one's Delrin. They both have an O-ring inside. So with the clone here, they just really went after making it as simple and reliable as possible. Very few O-rings in it, very few things to go wrong. It just works really, really well. I also have a clone GTI here, which is the older version from MacDev. And if you look at the engines, we have the new Clone 5 engine and we have the GTI engine. You still get a similar back caps are about the same. This is a little bit bigger firing chamber or air chamber in the back. The way that the guns are designed isn't hugely different, but you see this is way simpler. So even though the Clone GT was a very smooth and high quality, high-end marker design, they actually went away from that system because nowadays everybody just wants a really simple, reliable gun. Versus this one, which would take a little more maintenance. It wasn't very difficult. It was just a lot of these O-rings are static, meaning they don't really do anything other than just hold air and direct air in the area. It is just a little overwhelming to troubleshoot, and if you don't know a whole lot, to figure out what is going on inside here. So that is no longer the case with the Clone 5. I can tell you, even though that the Clone 5 is kind of similar to the drone engine, it actually, performance-wise, is night and day. This is the Drone 2, hugely successful, came out one of the best low-end guns on the market for sure, but it definitely shoots and performs like a mid-range gun in that $500 range, worth every penny. But if you're thinking about upgrading to the new Clone 5, there's no contest. This gun is just really smooth. It's really simple. It was super reliable and consistent over the chronograph. It was just glorious in how it shot. So yeah, be sure to check these out. They're flying off the shelves right now at yourpbfriend.com. The new MacDev Clone 5.